The destruction of your retirement savings can lead to massive problems, obviously. It could force you to work a few years longer than you want, or even cause you to completely deplete most of what's in your investment accounts. So let's take a look at some of the biggest threats to your retirement savings and how to avoid them. Inflation has got to be at the top of the list because rich or poor, old or young, it affects every single one of us. It's like a monster under the bed we know exists that comes out when we aren't home. But every now and again, as we saw recently, it pops out when we are home and starts smearing mud all over our walls. Unfortunately, it's never going away because governments are in the business of reckless spending. They aren't the most reliable when it comes to cutting or spending more efficiently. The problem is that we don't know how much inflation will be in the future. Just look at cumulative inflation over the past 4 years. Since 2020, it's been roughly 20%. Before that, it took 12 years to achieve cumulative inflation of about 20%. Think about that. We've basically stuffed 12 years of inflation into the past 4 years. Who's to say this sort of large spike won't happen at least a few more times over the next 40 or 50 plus years? Since this is the biggest financial challenge according to adults, what can you do to make sure inflation doesn't completely destroy your retirement savings? First, if you are not getting regular raises at work to keep pace with some inflation, then it's time to make a change. Sitting on the sidelines expecting someone to just hand you more money is a terrible way to increase your income. If you don't care about taking the initiative to improve your financial situation, then you cannot expect someone else to care for you. To be fair, since inflation has been so high recently, your wage increases might not have kept up enough, which is understandable. All this means is that you need above average wage increases over the next few years just to catch up. Once you get that raise, you should make sure that you are investing in things that have been known to outpace or keep up with inflation. Stocks are a great place to start. When prices go up, businesses are the ones charging more. By investing in them through broad-based index funds or the ETF equivalent, you can ride that inflation wave so you're not left behind. Tips are also an option since the amount that you're paid is based on the inflation rate at that time. Real estate with a manageable payment and decent interest rate can also help. When property values increase due to inflation, the amount owed on the debt remains the same. Other home-related expenses such as repairs, insurance, and taxes might increase, but at least a part of your home cost, like the monthly payment, will stay the same. Another threat to your retirement savings is your lack of privacy. All it takes is a few pieces of your personal info getting into the wrong hands, and the next thing you know, identity thieves have control over your financial accounts. These thieves have your personal information because data brokers are out there selling it to the highest bidder without your consent, which is actually pretty creepy. Today's sponsor, Incogni, can help you solve this problem quickly with little effort on your end. They reach out to these data brokers on your behalf and demand that they stop selling your personal information. Incogni will even keep you updated on the progress of how many data removal requests that they've sent and how many have been completed. Using Incogni is like having a personal privacy advocate working tirelessly for you. It's simple, effective, and gives you peace of mind knowing that your personal data isn't being hawked around the internet. Use code Jarrad at the link below to get an exclusive 60% off an annual Incogni plan. Depending on what you invest in, fees are going to be the next biggest threat to your retirement savings.
Oh my God, what are you doing? Stop that!
For the record, there's nothing wrong with paying for a product or service you receive. In fact, you should feel good about paying for something that improves your life in one way, shape, or form. I know all the freeloaders out there don't like to hear this because, well, they're entitled. But it's true. None of us would have jobs if people didn't pay for things. There's an enormous and even costly difference between a reasonable and unreasonable fee though. Take for instance the total amount paid when comparing fees for different funds you invest in for 30 years. That 0.5% or 0.75% fee charged for an actively managed fund that's proven to underperform a simple index fund will cost you a few $100,000. Think about what you could have spent that $100,000 or $200,000 on. It takes you from being a millionaire to not being a millionaire. you're also paying more money for an inferior product. Stick with low-cost index funds or their ETF equivalent to avoid being ripped off by these overpriced funds. We can also consider the high fees charged by financial advisors and planners. Now, once again, for the record, I have zero issues with people working with planners because they can be extremely helpful, as long as the pay structure is fair. But paying 1% or more is highway robbery and rarely worth it. Here's the pay difference between a flat fee advisor and one that charges a percentage over 30 years. Yes, you're paying the flat fee planner about $100,000 over those 30 years, but you're paying the other one 3, 4, and even 5 times that, since it's based on a percentage of your assets. And look at that hourly rate comparison. It is outrageous. Also keep in mind that this is based on an average of 13 hours per year. Some years, you might not need to work with them as much, so the flat fee planner would be even cheaper. Once again, people deserve to be compensated for the work they do, but not to the point where it literally destroys your retirement savings. Would you rather pay a lot more or a lot less for the same quality of service? To make it very clear, avoid any advisor or planner that charges you a percentage and stick with a flat fee one. You could also use planning software that's geared towards do-it-yourself investors at a fraction of the price. New Retirement is the one that I use. Link is in the description to get access to their free trial. The days are gone when we can blindly trust that we're not being taken advantage of in the finance world. No one is going to have your back more than you do. Help support my little dog Molly and the free content on this channel by hitting that thumbs up button. The next threat to your retirement savings is taking early withdrawals or even loans from your retirement accounts. How would you feel if some young person borrowed thousands and thousands of dollars from your retired grandparents? Seems kind of irresponsible, right? That's exactly what happens when someone borrows from their retirement accounts before retirement. The reason this is a big problem is that shares are sold off to receive cash for a loan against your retirement account, which immediately stops the growth of your investments. Under 99.9% of circumstances, this is one of the dumbest, most irresponsible things a person can do. As Charlie Munger said, the first rule of compounding, never interrupt it unnecessarily. The whole point of having an emergency fund is so you don't have to raid an old person's retirement account. Some people get upset about how harsh and strict I am about this sort of thing, and that is intentional. I want you to feel like such a piece of garbage for even thinking about touching that money. If shaming you is what it takes to make sure that you're not screwing over the older you, then so be it. I don't care, because somebody has to look out for that person. Fun fact, I know a guy personally, not me, who borrowed, wait for it, $250,000 from a retired 87-year-old about 5 years ago. Now, he promised to pay it all back within 3 years. And guess what? He hasn't paid a cent of it. This is the definition of a scumbag. Oh, and thank goodness this psychopath isn't running the show. Her bright idea is to attach a credit card to all 401ks so people have easier access to it. In her brain-dead opinion, having to go through the whole administrative process of applying for a 401k loan is just too difficult, and it's not fair that it's so hard to get the money out so easily. If you're someone who knows you'll never take a loan against your retirement accounts, then the next retirement threat to worry about is an inadequate savings rate. Calculate your savings rate by taking your income minus your expenses divided by your income. As long as you're saving and investing that amount, then this is your savings rate. People often say that contributing 15%, including an employer match, is a good starting point, and I personally agree. However, this depends on your age, how much you've saved so far, and your retirement savings goal. I have a video showing you how to figure out the amount you need saved for retirement, which will be linked down in the description below. One thing to keep in mind is that as much as the media likes to scare us, we're all most likely going to have some amount of Social Security in retirement, so make sure that you take that into account. However, relying too heavily on Social Security can have negative consequences because it might not cover as much as you think. To be honest, Social Security was never designed to replace the majority of your expenses. It was intended to supplement a smaller portion of it. Letting debt accumulate for too long can also silently destroy your retirement savings, not only during your working years, but also in retirement. 65% of 65 to 74-year-olds carry debt with an average of $135,000. 53% of people 75 and older carry debt with an average of $95,000. Carrying debt on a home in retirement isn't the end of the world as long as it's manageable. But I'll have to admit, from the perspective of someone whose parents are retired with a paid-off home, their finances are a lot more manageable without it. Plus, as a son, I worry a lot less about their financial situation because if things go really badly, then property taxes and home insurance are all that we have to worry about, which honestly isn't that expensive. My biggest concern with debt in regards to retirement savings is the other things, like credit cards, car loans, student loans, and everything else. While the average credit card balances of people older than 65 don't look too high, this is the type of debt that can get out of hand extremely quickly if it's not paid off in a timely manner because of the high interest rates. I think student loan debt is one of the biggest ticking time bombs when it comes to holding back retirement savings. The growth relative to the number of borrowers is a little concerning to look at. The amount owed has almost tripled since 2007. Since most of these people borrowing this money are young, if they don't pay off their student loan balances during their working years, I could see a large increase in people carrying student loans well into retirement. Before retirement, everyone should be thinking about how they can keep their debts at a manageable level later down the line. And the sooner you can start thinking about this and working on the problem now, the better. I put student loans at the top of that list. You've got to get these things paid off as quickly as possible. They're like having a drunk cousin living on your couch, stinking up your house, driving your car, and eating all of your food. It's not good, and it never has, and it never will be. The only way to get rid of them is if you die, become disabled, or pay them off. Let's hope the first two never happen and focus on the last option. I had $70,000 in student loans that I paid off in a few years, and it was the best decision I ever made for my personal finances and my sanity. I'll have my one-on-one coaching open for a limited amount of time if you need help managing your money and paying off debt. Link is down in the description. Another way to keep debt manageable in retirement is your vehicle. I've mentioned it many times in other videos, but back in 2019, after I purchased my current car with cash, I started setting money aside every month into a brokerage account because I refused to borrow money to buy cars in the future. This will make it much easier for me to pay cash for a new used car every 5 to 7 years during my working years and in retirement. It's no surprise that healthcare costs increase as we age, which will eat into our retirement savings. As of 2023, Fidelity reported that the average retired couple aged 65 may need approximately $315,000 saved to cover these expenses. Aside from random, uncontrollable events, we have significant influence over how long we live, how we age, and how much we spend on healthcare. In the book Outlive, Dr. Peter Attia discusses the idea of focusing on health span more than lifespan. Lifespan refers to the total number of years someone lives regardless of their health. So someone might live until they're 90, but their health might be extremely deteriorated by the end of it, which will cost a lot more money. On the other hand, health span refers to the period of a person's life during which they are healthy and free from chronic disease or debilitating conditions. It emphasizes not just living longer, but living better. The goal is to extend the number of years spent in good health with high functionality and quality of life. Attia's approach to improving health span is based around 5 key areas: nutrition, exercise, sleep, mental health, and medical interventions. Even though everyone is important, he says that exercise has the greatest power to determine how you will live out the rest of your life. He specifically mentioned that muscle is powerfully correlated with living longer, no matter what age you start building it. You don't need bulging out of your shirt muscles like some bodybuilder, but you have to be strong for someone in your age group. So basically, lift heavy things in a safe way a few times per week. In the book, he cited a study of 4,500 people aged 50 and older, which found that those with low muscle mass had a 40 to 50% greater risk of mortality. To make it even more clear, he stated that the fitter you are, the lower your risk of death. Again, there is no other intervention, drug or otherwise, that can rival this magnitude of benefit. Exercise is so effective against the disease of aging that it's often been compared to medicine. Unfortunately, the US medical system is designed to treat you with a pill or rehab after you're already sick and broken. It's not focused on helping you improve your lifespan productively. There's a reason doctors don't ask about your strength training routine or your nutrition when you go in for a normal checkup, because it's not a part of their education. If you aren't sick, then they literally have no idea what to do with you. It's kind of funny, and it's kind of sad at the same time. According to this professor, a review of medical school curriculums showed that a majority of U.S. institutions did not offer any courses on physical activity, and when the courses were offered, they were rarely required. When it comes to nutrition, a 2021 study found that medical students only receive an average of 11 hours of nutrition training throughout an entire medical program. Think about that. You could run a MAPS fitness program once, consume a few books or podcasts on nutrition, and know more about both topics than most medical doctors. Instead of calling it healthcare, we should probably start calling it sick care, because that's all it is. Start focusing on health span from now until the end of your life. You'll live longer, age better, and it'll cost you a lot less money. Hit that thumbs up button and get the free things that I mentioned down in the description below. I'll see you in the next one, friends. Done.